Hey y'all, welcome to Conversations with Pela. I'm Pela. And this morning, honestly, I had to sit and talk to myself, like talk out loud. Like technically right now I am talking to myself, but I'm also talking to you. Um, but I seriously had to just talk to myself for about a half hour. That's a long time to just sit and make noise out loud by yourself because I was just struggling to get started with the talking part. There are plenty of days that I just don't feel like talking, and so I don't. And that doesn't really work when part of your job is to talk. You know what I mean? So talk to myself for half hour, um, and now I'm ready to talk to you. Here's what I am going to say first. There's a young man named Juan Sebastian Guerrero, and I don't even think I'm saying his name correctly, and I feel terrible about that. But he should be alive. He was alive yesterday. He should be alive today, and he's not. And I'm just going to say this: he should be alive. But because that is such a, it's such a. Every time I say that name and I think about that situation and the wider implication and all the other situations that are just like his, and all of the other things that are happening in the same realm, I get very emotional. So I'm not going to stay in that space. But I said what I said. That young man should be alive today. Uh, I have this rabbit hole, and I'm tired of saying rabbit hole, but that's kind of what it is, thanks to Alice in Wonderland, which is one day I'm going to tell you about a school play for Alice in Wonderland, but today's not that day. Um, I'm gonna tell you something while you get ready that is like the final puzzle piece finally just plugged in. First things first, this Conversations with Pella. I'm choosing to not let today be a sponsored episode. Um, we can talk about contracts a different day. Today it's just me. It's just me, and I'm going to tell you about this little piece of the puzzle that fell into place this morning that cleared everything up in my mind, and now I have an understanding of what is happening. Um, I was watching just a clip of an interview. I love the Breakfast Club. I don't watch it every day. I don't check them every day, but I just like the way that I like the way that they format. So the content is usually pretty good. It's usually pretty solid for the Breakfast Club, which is why it is such a huge radio show turned podcast turned everything. It even streams on Netflix, and I've never caught it on Netflix because that's a new thing. Um, but if your show is picked up by Netflix, excuse me, that's telling you that the caliber of what you're putting out is top tier, and that people know where the money is, and that's why they want to work with you, right? So the Breakfast Club is a huge show. I just watch clips because I always find what they get into is entertaining to me. Um, but there was an interview about a guy who helped put together Essence Fest. Essence Fest, I believe, happens in NOLA. It could happen somewhere else, but I've never heard about it happening anywhere else except for in Louisiana. Um, and Essence Fest is a big festival. It's I remember some years it was a hit, some years it was a little bit of a miss, but they've kind of found their groove and they've been in it for a hot minute and it's worked out. And he was talking about how they made Essence Fest go. And he acknowledged some of his biggest sponsors. And the first sponsor he acknowledged was Target. Now, the way he said it, it was like, and a lot of people really showed up for us, like Target, Disney, something, something. He said four different ones, but he said Target, Disney, something, something. And keep in mind, the something, something, they had names, but I was just like, what did he say? And he said, Target helped sponsor Essence Fest. Um, so hold on to that little nugget. He also went on to say that some of these black-owned businesses that were starting to really get some, it was beyond traction because these businesses had been in play for many years, but now they were starting to expand and grow. And I would say the transfer of wealth has moved into those arenas in those states and in those areas, right? he began to talk about how those companies were able to do more and sponsor more. And that's really his greater point, was that these smaller owned businesses, that they're not huge conglomerates, were able to contribute on a larger scale to make Essence Fest what it was. Take that little piece, set it to the side. Um, Now, a long time ago being the beginning of 2025, there was a huge initiative that was rolled back by the government, DEI. Lots of people felt like a lot of people were against it. A lot of people were for it. Uh, and what happened is that there were businesses that 100% said, we're rolling it back. We're not doing it anymore. And they ended up losing quite a bit of market share. One of those businesses was Target. Target lost a lot of money, a lot of market share. Um, and for a lot of people in the United States, they didn't clock that. But Target clocked it because the power of this very specific group of people, the power of their dollar, hit them right in the pockets. And I don't think they were expecting that. On the other side of that, Costco said, hey, we're going to stand 10 tones down. We are for the people. And Costco being for the people took Costco stocks right up and through the roof. Now, take that little piece, set it to the side. There is a DJ named DJ Academics, and Academics has made his career on streaming platforms. So he was not part of the mainstream gatekeepers that have been around since, let's say, like, basically, if you take the 90s and come forward, radio had a big play in what made it in hip hop culture, or in any culture actually. I mean, because country music's the same, pop music's the same. Basically, you have all of these, like, you've got Billboard music, you've got radio stations, you had MTV, you had record companies, you had all of these things that helped shape all of these different parts of society. And the one that I'm interested in is always hip hop culture. I like to stay there because, quite frankly, the people look like me. They make sounds that I really love, that resonate with me. I love hip hop culture. Uh, but I love it for, like, from a sociological standpoint, which is the same. That's why I like anything. I just like to see the movements of people. I like to see the art that people create. I like to partake in the art and just enjoy what is there, right? DJ Academics, he did not come up through the same lines as I just named. This is the gatekeepers who created much of the access to the culture. Again, I'm talking about TV, radio, the ways that we used to communicate, right? Um, he came up through streaming platforms, YouTube. I'm going to say Twitch, but I'm not sure if that's 100% sure. I mean, real. My point is that he came up through the interwebs more than through other forms of media. And he's made a name for himself. He's done really well. But DJ Academics is not my favorite by any stretch. Um, and I'm going to say it like this. I noticed that I tried to not be too crass about anything, but Academics to me is a dick rider. He really likes Drake, and I don't believe that the artist Drake likes him back on the same level that he goes up for Drake. I just don't. I have never I've never seen somebody go so hard publicly where the love is not reciprocal. Um, and for free. You know what I mean? He spends so much of his time like trying to to back up Drake and legitimize Drake and everything for Drake. And I don't feel like the love goes back to him. And I think that that's what turns me off about Academics. It's not, I mean, he has some hot takes that I'm not really a fan of, but it's that he simps for somebody who does not simp back for him. That's a hard thing to watch just from the outside. Like, if you think about a friend, have you ever known somebody who just wants so badly to be accepted and loved by somebody else that they have put on a pedestal, and you just stand back and you watch and you're like, for what? What are you doing this for? Because you're hurting yourself. Like, the amount of time and effort you're putting into this person is you abandoning yourself for a little bit of their light, and they don't even care about who you are or what you're doing. I think it's that painful, watching that painful interaction is what makes me feel like, ugh, I can't get down with what you're doing. Um, because then when you're talking about people that you know personally, you get dragged into that drama of like listening to all the things that somebody wants to simp and fanboy over this person who is not caring about them. And it just, anyway, if you've been there, if you've been the friend standing to the side, you just know it's exhausting, and you feel bad for the person who is simping. That's all I can say. That is not all I can say. It's just all I'm going to say. Academics has a target on Charlemagne the God. And I realize that I bring up Charlemagne a lot, but that's because I really like The Breakfast Club. And years ago I read a book that Charlemagne wrote, and it was his biography. And I said, "Oh, okay, this guy really did come up. Like he through it was just he came up the hard way." Is what I'm saying, but he found his way. And I think that when I read Charlemagne's biography, I realized, okay, if you really want something, you really actually can just go for it, because he had no advantages like outside of himself that opened doors for him. He just decided he was going to do it. He found the doors. He went through it. He set things down that he needed to, so that he could move on. Now, Charlemagne uh, has moved into it. He's got a lot more going than one would think he has going. He's got his fingers in a lot of different pots and a lot of different pies, but he just doesn't spend his time like constantly promoting it. You'll know about it because it just comes out of his mouth, but not because he's trying to tell you, "Hey, this is what I'm doing now. You should support." He just says, "Oh yeah, that's just something. Oh yeah, that's part of my company. Like my media company did that. My media company published this. Oh yes, I have stakes in that." But it's never him telling you up front, "This is what I'm doing." And that's what I think is allowing him to just kind of stay out of the fray, but not. Okay, so take that little piece. Now, the thing that DJ academics can't stand about um, Charlemagne, to me, this is what it feels like because they just recently had a conversation, is that he thinks that Charlemagne is getting Rock Nation money. So this is another piece of the puzzle. Rock Nation is Jay Z, Beyonce, Jay Z, Jay Z, Sean Carter, Rock Nation. Rock Nation is a very, very, very powerful company. And in the recent past, including the current, like the recent past is in every second that ticks by. So in the present as well, and likely well into the future, they will have a say in how society is shaped. Now, I'm not saying hip hop society. I'm saying society, and because they got their money up in there, they have their influence up in there, and I can't fault them for it. They built that. Jay Z built that. He got to the places that he wanted to be, and he moved his power from being like that. At one point, we were Jay Z's customers, right? Like he was speaking directly to us as people who consumed his music and his art. Um, if you can remember, in the early 2000s, he said he wasn't going to wear jerseys anymore, and and essentially said he was going to come to work business casual. Not business. He doesn't do business casual, but basically he was moving. He was evolving it as a businessman. He was no longer just an artist. In fact, let me tell you something. There was this story one time. Uh, was it the? It was back in the days of MTV when MTV was a little bit more about the music, but they were transitioning away, right? I remember Jay Z put out a song. It's crazy because I just don't. I just everything is coming off of memory. But Jay Z wanted to. He made this video. He was on a ship, and here's the thing. Everybody knows this song. Um, Now I'm looking it up. Now I'm looking it up. And once I say it, it's gonna be like, how come you didn't remember that song? This one, Big Pimpin'. Big Pimpin'. Yeah, Big Pimpin'. They were so MTV was running a story on how Jay-Z made the video and that Jay-Z wanted to spend millions to make this video. And like millions, I mean it was just like maybe a couple million. I could remember that number wrong, but this was the late 90s and a couple million was a grand amount of money. And people didn't want to do it and he insisted. He insisted and he got his video and it blew up and it blew up. This was a man who never underestimated himself. He knew that the magic was in him. He pushed for what he wanted, and then he just became bigger and bigger and bigger. So in the early 2000s, I think it's somewhere around 2003, when he said he wasn't wearing jerseys anymore, he stopped. But at that time, he was still speaking to us directly. He was talking to you. He was talking to me, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, we're not wearing jerseys anymore. No, now we are gonna we. It's the year of the quarter zip. You know." He changed his style to be more in line with doing business deals inside of corporate America. And his point may have been, and like my interpretation, he was evolving and he was a businessman. He was no longer just an artist. And that's his when he became an artist, he was saying, I'm no longer just for the streets. Then and at that point he was still talking to us. Then he said, I'm not just an artist, I'm a businessman. Then he wasn't talking to us anymore. He was talking to other businessmen. And as he has progressed in his career, his actual audience, we all still think we're part of it, but we're not. We are just witnesses. We are not actually part of his audience. His audience is big corporate money. It's the billionaires. It's the billionaires and the businesses that they own. But all of us still think, oh, no, no, no. He rode with us before. He's still riding with us. He's not. He's not riding with us. We are not the people he's concerned about. However, nothing works without the people. You see that? Without the people, what do you have? Nothing. All things are made for the people. So without the people, you have nothing. It's just that all of us are so sure that we're still one of his people. And as humans, we all do that. We Different things outgrow us, but because we knew it at some point, we think we've grown with them. And we sometimes fail to see we as people did not grow with that person. That person outgrew us. And now we are like academics writing for Drake, is what I'm saying. Okay, so full circle. Jay-Z he did the Roots Picnic, and then he sold out at least 3 nights in New York. Just recently, he's been doing those acapella freestyles that everybody loves, that it blows everybody's mind. To be honest, when I heard the one from the Roots Picnic, I said, it sounds cool, but this sounds like gibberish to me. Um, and then the one that he just did, much clearer, much cleaner. Like, I got what he was saying at the Roots Picnic. Don't get me wrong, I didn't miss it. I just didn't think it was as brilliant as the world thought it was. Um, Keeping in mind, of course, that Jay-Z is the billionaire and I'm the thousandaire. You know what I mean? So I get that me not thinking it was brilliant doesn't make a difference. Lots of people thought it was brilliant. But this is what happened during one of his freestyles. Well, during the one that there's an incredible amount of press around. One, uh, he talks about Target in the way that Jay-Z knows how to talk about Target. He's also releasing his music exclusively through Target. So earlier in the year, when Dr. Jamal Bryant, which I'm sure you also don't know, but Jamal Bryant is a considered a maybe a thought leader and a spiritual leader. I don't understand his influence, but I don't have a problem with the man. He has influence, and I think Target thought that he would be the right person to tell everybody that the boycott was over. So they did it. They tried it. I'm sure they paid that man, and he got up here on Beyonce's internet and said, "Hey, the Target boycott is over." And people said, I'm sorry, who are you? You don't speak for the people. And it's true, he doesn't speak for the people. At no point was he ever appointed one of the leaders of the people. And even if he was, he's not the one who started the boycott. So how does he get to be the one who call off the boycott? It was a failed attempt. However, it was a failed attempt only on this level. But on this level, what he started showing was that Target was going to start trying to break down walls and make a comeback. And people rejected that. They rejected that. Costco's still doing good, but people are rejecting this failed attempt at a comeback, right? And I don't think it was viewed as a soft launch, but I think it was a soft launch. So here we keep going. Where am I at? Charlemagne. Academics thinks that Charlemagne is taking Rock Nation money. That's Jay-Z. Now Jay-Z is releasing his music only at Target, which we all knew when he did the Roots picnic. And I think that for the most part, a lot of people were rejecting that notion. Like, don't try to drag us back there. Don't try to um, flex and show your mighty power by only putting your music at Target and think that we're all going to run there and get it. Then circle around to these three very successful nights in New York. And people are already saying, I don't care about all of this political stuff. All I'm saying is there's 3 nights that were sold out. I don't care about all this stuff. I just enjoyed the music and the artistry. Now, fast forward to this conversation about Essence. Oh, wait, no, I'm skipping a piece. Now, here's the piece that came up all last week, and it was on my mind, and I just kept thinking, I'm missing something. I'm missing something. Academics coming after Charlemagne feels kind of foolish because academics, the way that he keeps like putting this all together is that Charlemagne's getting paid, and that's why his narrative towards Jay Z is always much softer than it is towards Drake. Well, you're losing the plot somewhere in there because he says Charlemagne is taking Rock Nation money. That's why he's always spewing their talking points. But the minute you give academics anything that has anything to do with Drake, he's off topic and he's talking about that's why everybody is it, maybe it's not off topic for academics, but it's convoluting his point that Charlemagne is taking Rock Nation money, to which Charlemagne says, no, I'm not. I don't work with Rock Nation, or I don't work for Rock Nation. I work with Rock Nation. And then he tells academics things like, but if I'm the one who told you, doesn't it seem like I'm trying to give you the inside scoop? You know what I mean? Then I hear Essence Fest, and they got a lot of money from Target. None of this is about Target. None of this is about Target. All of this came together when I realized, first of all, Target is doing what corporations do. They lost their market share. They made a decision that was a false move, lost them a lot of money, and they're trying to rebuild and recoup. They know they can't come directly to the consumer that they lost, that they have to come in and they've got to infiltrate. So they've put together their plan. They tried to hit him with somebody like Jamal Bryant. It didn't work. But what it did was it started to crack the whole thing open. It started to open and show where the divide was. Where were the people who were still going to Target versus the people who were not going to Target? How strong is the sentiment that we're not going back? Is it as strong as it was when the boycott started to really take shape and take off? Or do we have some wiggle room? Are people forgetting how upset they were and starting to calm back down and go back to a place of convenience, right? I mean it's just logic that okay, maybe it's not logic because not everybody can see that. But to me it's common sense that that is what they're doing. They are throwing it out there to see where they stand. They're getting a sense for where the people are, for where this market share is that they want to get back. And then they get in together with a billionaire who has had influence. And the thing is, people think we're still his target audience, and we're not. We're not. The corporations are his target audience. So he's showing them, oh, I can move the masses. Watch this. And the people are still resistant, like, you're not going to make us go back. You're not going to make us go back. You're not going to make us go back. Target's putting their money back into these spaces that left Target. And again, I'm telling you, this is not about Target. Have you ever read the book Animal Farm? Animal Farm, so I don't remember the name of the farmer, but he was such a terrible man that the animals revolt. They revolt against him because they want a peaceful, equitable farm where everybody gets the same thing. And I believe that it was like a push for communism, right? The book was really good. It was written such a long time ago, and it mirrored more than one society. In the beginning, it was supposed to really just kind of gently tell you the story of communism here. We're not even talking about communism. Right now, I'm talking about propaganda because the farm was run by a bunch of pigs. And there was a pig named Napoleon, and there was a pig named Snowball. And Snowball was very intellectual. He just had noble ideas, and he would go out there and he'd tell it to the farm animals, and they kind of really liked him. And together he was partnered with Napoleon, but Napoleon was quiet, and he was kind of he was just more clever about things. So let me say, when I talk about if your personality sucks, it makes a difference. People don't receive things when they don't like you. And Snowball, because he was so idealistic, and he was a little bit naive in thinking that he could just appeal to the best parts of people, or not people, but the animals, and that the animals would follow, that it would work. And he did it that way, and it didn't work because Napoleon was smarter than Snowball. And Snowball, that pig ended up getting run off, and Napoleon ran the farm. But the way Napoleon worked is that he had this little pig named Squealer. And Squealer would go out there, and Squealer would teach the animals everything. He'd teach them all animals are equal, or whatever. I don't remember the saying that he's, but Squealer was out there, and he would lead the thought on this farm. He's the one who told everybody exactly how we think. And when the pigs would start to do things that broke the rules, I mean, they had so many rules on the farm, and they were constantly trying to learn these rules. Squealer would change the rules so that the pigs hadn't done anything wrong, and the farm animals, because Squealer is the one who told them the rules, because they couldn't learn how to read, they couldn't learn how to think on their own. They went along with what Squealer said. Anyway, this is not something that is specific to this story that I'm telling about Jay-Z, Target, billionaires, capitalism. He's selling us capitalism, which we all participate in every day anyway. And I'm not for capitalism, and I don't know what the point is in being against it if you don't have a plan to change it. You know what I mean? I'm just saying capitalism. Here's Jay-Z. Forget Jay-Z. Let's go back to Animal Farm. There's Squealer, who's in place to give us the propaganda and to give it to us so subtly that as the farm animals, we still think everything is great and that we're moving in the right direction. I'm not comparing any human to an animal. Let me be clear about that. I'm not comparing humans to any of the animals in the books. I am comparing them to the characters in the book. Not the animal, but the character. Uh, Charlemagne is Squealer. He's here to sell us a bill of goods that not 100% in line with what the people want. But he just keeps softballing it. He keeps just making it easy enough for people to consume that he actually has more influence in this sphere than anybody else, and it's so subtle that people don't catch it. Now, do I think Charlemagne's wrong? I am not taking a moral stance on this. I'm just saying academics is incapable of moving the masses because he doesn't understand the subtlety of what needs to happen. He's calling something out that if he was a much more likable person, and again, I don't believe in likability politics, but the reality is that they exist. He's calling something out that if he was more likable, people would be like, oh my gosh, wait, what is happening right in front of our eyes? But he's not likable, not on that level. Charlemagne is. And he's likable to a lot of people. Like Charlemagne's influence is outside of just hip hop culture. He is influential everywhere. And if you've never heard of him, that doesn't mean that he hasn't had an impact on the world that you live in. Anyway, talk my guts out. Hopefully you're ready for work. Catch you at the office.